Cheating isn't shocking anymore. It's almost expected. We live in a time where loyalty feels old-fashioned, where people want the thrill of commitment without the weight of it. We call it connection, but most of it is convenience. We flirt in comments, we text in secrets, we post love online while quietly craving someone else's attention. It's not that we've stopped believing in love, it's that we've started worshipping dopamine instead. We live in the age of options. People want to be adored without having to stay. They crave loyalty while flirting with escape. They want intensity without responsibility, passion without consequence. Cheating today rarely begins with a kiss. It begins with boredom, with curiosity, with that small, forbidden thought. What if someone else could make me feel more alive? We don't cheat because we're evil. We cheat because we're empty. Because in a world that never stops distracting us, faithfulness has become an act of resistance. We used to hide affairs behind locked doors. Now they start with typing bubbles. One message, one emoji, one moment of validation. And suddenly, you've crossed a line you didn't even see coming. This is the truth no one wants to admit. Most people don't cheat because they stopped loving their partner. They cheat because they stopped feeling seen or stopped caring when they promised they would. And the more disconnected our world becomes, the easier it is to confuse attention for affection and temporary excitement for something real. So in this age of disconnection, what does loyalty even mean? Is it still possible to be faithful in a culture that rewards distraction? This is not just a story about infidelity. It's a story about the quiet extinction of intimacy and what happens when we forget how to stay faithful, not only to others, but to ourselves. We live in an age where connection is everywhere, yet almost nowhere at all. Our phones keep us close, but our hearts feel distant. We share everything, our meals, our opinions, our smiles, but not our silence, not our truth. We've mistaken communication for closeness. Typing, "I miss you," feels like an act of love, but how often do we mean it? We reply to messages instantly, but take days to truly listen. We keep our relationships alive through blue dots and green bubbles, but when we meet in person, the air feels heavy, as if something essential went missing. We've built digital bridges between us, but those bridges often lead nowhere. They're strong enough to send a text, but too fragile to hold real emotion. And in that emotional distance, a subtle ache begins to grow. It's the quiet loneliness that hides beneath constant communication, the kind that makes you scroll through old photos or reread old chats just to remember what it felt like to be truly connected. That's where modern infidelity begins, not in desire, but in disconnection. It's not about seeking someone new, but about escaping the hollow echo of routine. When love stops feeling alive, people start looking for a heartbeat outside of it. A new message, a new voice, a moment that feels spontaneous and unfiltered, something that reminds them of who they were before everything became predictable. But here's the tragedy. The search for connection often leads us deeper into isolation, because what we're chasing isn't another person. It's the version of ourselves that once felt whole. But what happens when closeness stops feeling alive? When even love starts to taste like routine? That's when the numbness creeps in, slowly, quietly, like fog. People stop arguing, stop reaching, stop feeling. They don't leave right away, they drift. And when the silence becomes unbearable, they start looking for something or someone to wake them up. Not because they stopped loving their partner, but because they stopped feeling anything at all. Cheating, for many, isn't about desire. It's about escape, from monotony, from emptiness, from the weight of emotional stillness. It's the desperate act of someone trying to feel alive again, even if it means destroying the one place they once felt safe. But the irony is, every escape only deepens the void, because the numbness we run from is never out there, it's inside us. Cheating has always existed, but the reasons behind it have changed. In the past, it was often about passion, ego, or opportunity. Today it's more subtle, psychological, emotional, existential. Modern infidelity often begins not in the body, but in the mind. It starts with curiosity, then comfort, then validation. A simple message, "You understand me," and suddenly that understanding feels intoxicating because it touches the part of us our partner no longer sees. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And that's what modern cheating often is. Avoidance. Avoidance of loneliness, of vulnerability, of self-confrontation. We use another person as a mirror, hoping their attention will reflect back the parts of us we've lost. It's rarely about lust. It's about the hunger to feel significant again, to feel seen after years of being invisible, to prove to ourselves that we're still capable of stirring emotion in someone, in anyone. This is why people can love their partners deeply and still betray them. Because love and emotional wholeness are not the same. You can love someone sincerely and still carry an unhealed emptiness that drives your actions. At its core, cheating is not a failure of love. It's a failure of awareness. When we disconnect from our inner life, we start searching for ourselves through others. But what we find there is never enough, because no amount of external affection can fill the space created by internal disconnection. Technology promised to bring us closer, and in many ways, it has. We can speak across oceans, fall in love through screens, and share our most intimate moments with just a tap. But somewhere along the way, connection became consumption. We swipe through faces like they're products. We measure our worth in likes, views, and replies. Dating apps tell us that we can always find better. That's the dark side of modern love. We're always half present, half elsewhere. Infidelity in the digital age doesn't always mean meeting someone new. It can mean liking a photo you shouldn't, revisiting an old message thread you swore you'd forgotten, sharing parts of yourself online that should have remained sacred. Because the modern affair often begins quietly. It begins with emotional exposure, the small, subtle ways we share our loneliness with the wrong person. We call it harmless. But emotional cheating is like lighting a match in a room full of memories. It starts small, but it can burn down everything that was once real. Technology hasn't made us unfaithful. It simply made it easier to be distracted. And in a world full of distractions, staying loyal isn't just moral discipline, it's emotional focus. When we think of cheating, we picture two people, one betraying, one betrayed. But the deeper truth is that the first betrayal always happens within. Long before the secret messages, long before the lies, there is a quiet moment when a person abandons themselves. They stop being honest about their needs. They stop communicating their loneliness. They pretend everything is fine, while something inside them begins to fade. That's the real beginning of infidelity, when we choose silence over truth, comfort over depth, appearance over honesty. The act of cheating is only the final symptom. The betrayal began the moment someone stopped showing up authentically. Because real loyalty isn't just about physical faithfulness, it's about emotional presence. You can sleep next to someone every night and still be miles away from them emotionally. And so, the real heartbreak isn't always caused by what happened. It's caused by what stopped happening. The deep talks that ended. The laughter that turned to routine. The love that started surviving instead of growing. When someone cheats, it isn't just trust that breaks, it's identity. The person who was once your safe place suddenly becomes a stranger, and you start questioning not only them, but yourself. Was I not enough? Did I miss the signs? Was any of it real? But the greatest betrayal is not between two lovers. It's between a person and their own integrity. Because once you trade honesty for excitement, you lose a part of your soul, the part that knows how to love without guilt. And that kind of loss doesn't heal easily. You can rebuild trust, but innocence never returns. You can forgive, but something sacred always stays broken. Healing after betrayal isn't about forgetting. It's about facing what was ignored for too long. The emptiness, the loneliness, the small emotional distances that quietly grew into canyons. Real healing begins the moment we stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start asking, "What part of me was left unseen, unheard, or disconnected?" Because whether you were the one betrayed or the one who betrayed, the path to peace is the same. You have to turn inward, not to blame, but to understand, not to justify, but to become whole again. The truth is, no relationship, no matter how loving, can survive without self-awareness. When we lose connection with ourselves, we lose the ability to connect deeply with others. Healing, then, is not about finding a new person. It's about rediscovering the parts of you that you abandoned while trying to be loved. It's learning to sit with your own silence again, to feel without escaping, to listen without judgment. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means releasing the grip that pain has on your story. It's saying, "This happened, and I will still choose growth." Because healing isn't about returning to what was. It's about creating something more honest than before. True connection doesn't come from perfect people. It comes from people who are willing to stay when it gets difficult, to be transparent, vulnerable, real, to say, "I don't have all the answers, but I'm here." In an age where it's easier to replace than repair, choosing to rebuild is an act of quiet rebellion. Choosing to love with awareness, that's what makes connection sacred again. Cheating is not a modern disease. It's a timeless symptom. But today, it's spreading faster because we've forgotten how to slow down. To love deeply in a world of distractions is revolutionary. To stay loyal when everything around you says you can have more is sacred. Because in the end, love is about staying true to yourself, to another, and to the promise you made when your soul still believed in connection. Real love, the kind that lasts, is not effortless. It's built, protected, and chosen, again and again, even when the world makes distraction so easy. So slow down, look up from the screen, feel what's real. Because in an age of endless options, the rarest thing you can give someone is your full presence. If this video spoke to you, subscribe, give it a like, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. I really need your help to grow this channel. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.